Most of the exhibit at the Polish Museum showcases the history and culture of Poland, with a large part of the collection coming from the 1939 New York World's Fair. There is one exhibit, Polish Past in Chicago, from 1850 to 1941, that specifically highlights the Polish-American experience and is a favorite of American visitors. Between 1897 and 1913, 2 million ethnic Poles came to America, many of them to Chicago, which is still today America's most Polish city. The capital of American Polonia for some 75 years was a small, square section of Chicago's near northwest side around the intersection of Division, Ashland, and Milwaukee Avenues. The neighborhood became known to mostly Polish residents as Stanisławowa Trojcowa, but to outsiders, it was Polish downtown. It was the headquarters for all major financial institutions, fraternals, the Polish press, and many, many businesses. Nearly all Polish undertakings of any consequence in the United States between the two world wars either started or were directed from this neighborhood. The first settler is said to be Anton Smarszewski-Sherman, and the museum exhibit is blessed with the portrait of his entire family that is in this particular case. Polish settlement in Chicago can be traced through the growth of Polish Catholic parishes in 5 principal areas. The first of these was St. Stanislaus Kostka, founded on the near northwest side in 1867 and considered the mother church of all Polonia. Reverend Vincent Barzinski of the Congregation of the Resurrection was its pastor from 1874 to 1899 and a powerhouse in Chicago's Polonia. He founded 23 Polish parishes in Chicago over a 27-year period and introduced the Polish Baroque architectural style to this city. St. Stanislaus was once one of the largest Catholic parishes in the world, with almost 40,000 parishioners. On 2 blocks, it had a large performance hall, a convent, a rectory, a gymnasium, a grammar school, and a 2-year girls' high school. Around the corner was St. Stanislaus College for boys. As was true of most Catholic parishes, it served not only the spiritual needs, but had a host of devotional, cultural, and recreational fraternities and societies. St. Stanislaus Church prefigured the Polish Baroque style that was to become the hallmark of the Congregation of the Resurrection in its relentless parish-building zeal. For Poles, Baroque evoked the golden age of Polish history during the 16th to 18th centuries, a time of political autonomy and a flowering of arts and culture before the nation would be partitioned. During this time, Polish princes admired Italian architects and hired them to create splendid churches and palaces in Renaissance and Baroque styles. In Chicago, Polish Baroque was expressed by a handful of highly talented German architects responding to Polish nationalistic yearnings. St. Stanislaus Kostka was designed by Patrick Keeley and modeled after a church in Krakow and built between 1876 and 1881. Keeley created a light brick Romanesque style church with round arched doorways and windows. The Baroque porch was added in 1925. There were 2 elaborate Baroque copper towers that highlighted and foreshadowed the flourishing of Polish Baroque churches in Chicago that would follow. The interior features a 3-aisle basilica plan with slender columns. Windows are by the noted stained glass firm F.X. Zettler of Bavaria, and the interior painting is by Polish-born and trained painter Thaddeus Zukutyński. St. Stanislaus is now an archdiocesan parish with a resurrectionist priest. It serves a multi-ethnic congregation and features a sanctuary of the Divine Mercy based on Poland's St. Faustina, which is open 7 days a week for adoration. As an example of some of the many weddings that were held at St. Stanislaus, the museum holds a memento here, in this case, of Maciej and Karolino Stępiński's wedding, and many mementos also from the family that are in the case below. St. John Cantius was organized in 1893 by Reverend Barzinski to handle the overcrowding at St. Stan's. This church was designed by German-born Adolphus Druding in the Renaissance Baroque style, and it was dedicated in 1898. The exterior of St. John's looks like a classical temple with round arch doors at the base and columns that support a triangular pediment, clearly inspired by the classicism of Chicago's 1893 World's Fair. The largest of its two towers is modeled after St. Mary's Church in Kraków, which is John Cantius' home city. The three richly carved altars in natural wood tones with gold leaf reflect Baroque church interiors in Poland. Hidden in a rear chapel is a 1/3 scale replica of Krakow's Witwacz altarpiece. The parish has grown under the canons regular of St. John Cantius, with services in the Tridentine Rite and a traditional music program, often with orchestra and full choir. Holy Trinity was St. Stanislaus' rival. It was organized in 1873, just 2 blocks away, and the two church steeples could be seen looking down Noble Street. Holy Trinity struggled 20 years with St. Stan's over Polish national politics and which priests would be in charge. It began as a Resurrectionist church and then reopened in 1893 under the Congregation of the Holy Cross. Holy Trinity was the center of the Polish National Alliance activities, and it had 25,000 members at one time. The church was designed in 1906 by William Krieg in the Polish Baroque tradition. Paired towers with faithfully rebuilt copper roofs frame a central porch with huge classical columns. They are exact replicas of the originals, which had been lost. The hall-style interior has dropped pendants instead of columns. A magnificent restoration several years ago uncovered paintings over the main altar, the choir loft, and the ceiling. Pilasters and capitals were stenciled and gilded. The Polish mission of Holy Trinity is run today by the Society of Christ Fathers from Poland, and all services are in the Polish language. They are assisted by the Missionary Sisters of Christ the King, a Polish order of religious women. Holy Trinity and St. Stanislaus sponsored cultural and social societies that flourished in parishes in the early 20th century. There were readings in people's homes and theatrical and musical performances of high quality, often at either St. Stanislaus or Holy Trinity, in their auditoriums. There were choral societies, there were public lectures and evening courses in music, literature, and languages. Sports and recreation were also organized through the parish system. St. Mary of the Angels Parish was founded in 1899 by Resurrectionist Reverend Francis Gordon and dedicated in 1920. It has been called the finest example of Roman Renaissance architecture in the United States. Architects Worthman and Steinbach designed square towers with round arches and a large central dome reminiscent of St. Peter's in Rome. Grand stairs at the front entrance lead up to a portico with paired Corinthian columns topped by a classical balustrade. A soaring dome dominates the intersection of the bright, light-filled nave and transept. Elaborate paintings by Bohemian-American artist John Mallon include a mural above the altar depicting Mary with angels in heaven and looking up to the Trinity. The church was threatened with demolition in 1988, but was rescued in 1992 by the priests of Opus Dei and has been magnificently restored for a mixed congregation with English, Spanish, and Polish services. Although Holy Innocents was not founded by the Congregation of the Resurrection, its 1912 design is also in the Polish Baroque tradition and another masterful work by the Worthman and Steinbach team. Baroque paired towers on the front frame a center section with 3 round arched entry doors at the base and a rose window above. There is a dominant central dome and 2 smaller domes that create a dramatic soaring interior in the Byzantine tradition. Holy Innocents is one of the few Polish parishes administered by diocesan priests and continues to serve Polish, English, and Spanish-speaking congregation. St. Hedwig in Logan Square was organized in 1888 by Reverend Joseph Barzinski, Vincent's brother. Designed by Adolphus Druding and dedicated in 1901, it sports the twin Baroque towers typical of the Polish Baroque church style. The front has a classical porch with granite columns and an upper porch with a balustrade and triangular pediment. The end towers have square bases and domed spires. The interior painting scheme is another gem by John Mallon, completed for the parish's 50th anniversary in 1938. The central dome has 4 angels holding up a crown of thorns and a circular banner at their feet. St. Hedwig's breathtaking interior now hosts Polish and Spanish-speaking congregations, along with English-speaking parishioners drawn from the revitalization of the nearby Bucktown neighborhood. St. Hyacinth is another glorious Polish Baroque design from 1921 by the Worthman and Steinbach team. As at St. Mary's, they use stone, glazed terracotta, and brick for the exterior, but created an unusual 3-towered facade. Interior painting in the European tradition by Thaddeus Zukotyński and John Mallon. St. Hyacinth today remains staffed by Resurrectionist priests and serves a large Polish-speaking congregation. Named a basilica in 2003, it is one of just 3 Catholic basilicas in Chicago. There's a great tradition of strong women in Chicago's Polonia. There were 3 orders of Polish nuns that left a particularly strong legacy that continues today. Sisters of the Holy Family of Nazareth were founded in Europe in 1873 and came to Chicago in 1885, where Mother Mary Loreta Lubowicka became their guiding force. She was known as the Saint of Division Street as she walked the neighborhood, speaking to local children in their native languages. The order started St. Mary of Nazareth Hospital, 20 parish schools, and Holy Family Academy on Division Street, which now houses near North Montessori School, a private kindergarten through 8th grade program. St. Mary of Nazareth Hospital was founded by the Sisters of the Holy Family in 1892 in a 3-story brick house. Physicians' clinics started there in 1902 as an instructional technique and became the forerunner of grand rounds practiced by many hospitals today. The hospital now is Amida Health Saints Mary and Elizabeth Medical Center. The first sisterhood founded in Chicago was the Franciscan Sisters of Blessed Kunigunda, now known as the Franciscan Sisters of Chicago. Mother Mary Teresa Dudzik was an immigrant Pole who came to St. Stanislaus and founded the order in 1893 under the spiritual direction of Reverend Vincent Barzinski. Her first mission was caring for the aged in her own home across the street from the church. The Franciscan Sisters first opened St. Joseph Home for the Aged and St. Vincent's Orphanage in 1899 on Hamlin Avenue. Today, they sponsor Franciscan ministries with senior residences in several states, including Franciscan Village in Lamont, Illinois, and St. Joseph Village of Chicago. The Sisters of the Resurrection were the third order of religious women active in Chicago's Polonia. Founded in Rome in 1891, their first home and novitiate in Chicago was built in 1905 across the street from St. Mary of the Angels Church. They founded Resurrection Hospital and Resurrection High School for girls. Today, Amita Resurrection is the Chicago region's flagship hospital of the largest Catholic health system in Illinois. Among the major Polish organizations making Chicago their home for over 100 years, the Polish Roman Catholic Union remains the only Polish fraternal association still located in Chicago's Polish downtown. It is proud to house the Polish Museum of America, established by PRCUA under Joseph Kania and dedicated in 1937. Its headquarters building, where we are located today, was designed by John Flizikowski in 1912 and was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 2013. After visitors get an overview of Chicago's Polonia from the exhibit Polish Past in Chicago here at the PMA, they can walk the neighborhood and see this legacy from Poles who made Chicago their home.